chance after his arm injury to prove that I can do the championship and still have the chance to play there. And he's getting a second chance right now, which is pretty impressive. And he wants it.
Coach Shane. Red Eye, don't listen to him. Jakiro's not the hero. But stick to what you've been doing all tournament. Don't be phased by it. Your drafts have been phenomenal. The last game we drafted well, we just missed our timing by a little window, and EG played extremely well. So we just need maybe more of a balanced draft that can, in all stages of the game, meet EG, and just stick to what you're doing because it's working.
I like that. I actually want to go out and play now. I feel like I could Jakiro mid, and I could carry the team through. Yods, final words before we head into the draft?
I think the team that's going to play most fearlessly is going to be the one that comes out on top. You can't play too scared, you can't play too cautious.
All right, sounds like good advice to me. Coaches all around here. Let's head back downstairs for the draft for Game 3.
Beastmaster.
Welcome back inside, everybody. We're getting ready for game number 3 of Digital Chaos versus EG. Only one of these teams can move on to meet up against Wings in the grand final. I'm back at my drafting station here with Blitz, Merlini, and Waga. Gentlemen, let the draft begin. It looks like EG are going to be having the first pick, and they quickly snag up the Elder Titan. DC go right for the Beastmaster and accompany it with the Shadow Demon already.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's curious to see, in the previous series, both teams ignored Shadow Demon fully, actually. So it wasn't prioritized, it was not banned either. And here we see it coming back again with the Beastmaster combo.
Wow, already what could be our first somewhat peculiar pick. What does that say to us right now, Will? Early Tidehunter grab, when you're passing over some of the more notorious known universe options.
I think the biggest thing is they want to be able to counterpick the Digital Chaos mid-hero with one of the supports.
Remaining.
So they're waiting to pick one of those. You can wait to pick your carry and your mid laner, especially.
Remaining.
We saw how well it worked out when EG were able to last pick that Dusa. So I think for EG, they simply take the Tidehunter. It's a good matchup against the Beastmaster if they want to go one-on-one or go for an aggro. It works out quite well, as we saw in the last game, adds a lot of flavor to the team fight, and especially on Dire side, you can just stick that guy into the Ancients, he can get his prerequisite farm.
I think Moo's the hero on the player on Digital Chaos that you need a break if you're Evil Geniuses. I think picking the Tidehunter is going to make it very difficult for him on the Beastmaster. We've seen a couple of games where Moo has had really terrible performances. His Beastmaster game versus TNC's Batrider, that was especially critical for them. And then last game on his Faceless Void, they were forced to push high ground because Evil Geniuses had the late game advantage. They needed to go, they weren't quite ready, and then he hits a Chrono on a solo of Nazusa outside the base, which was the beginning of the end for Digital Chaos.
Do you think any part of that at all is also because, like, maybe they also want to make sure they get Weehaw on something that he can also thrive in the later game? Let's say if Moo does fall short, they'll have at least Weehaw there to kind of be able to step up. You can only step up so much when you have a Jakiro, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that was one of those pocket picks that they decided to try out for that game. Push the pace, give EG a little bit something different. But at the same time, what's been standard for DC is they give Weehaw one of those heroes similar to what Smil plays, something that can scale later into the game, that can carry if things go wrong, and I feel like they shouldn't get away from that concept.
That's the interesting thing. They play fairly similar mid-heroes. Apart from Sumail maybe not playing as much Invoker, and DC really being the only team that has had great success with Invoker this TI. I feel they have sort of the same heroes that they go towards. So second phase here, we see EG banning out the Invoker, pretty expected. Storm gets removed, respect to Sumail. And I think there's a lot of focus on the mid-hero right now. You pretty much have to consider getting it in Lex 2.
That ban, though, on Wyvern leads me to believe that DC do want to get something to do a bit of a split push game, I'd imagine. That's been a go-to counter pick for a lot of teams to prevent a lot of the heavy illusion, pressure.
It's just a great hero against Beastmaster in general, and then Shadow Demon works as well, because if you time into the illusions, but it's mainly about the attack speed aura on Beastmaster. You make everyone just kill their teammates so fast. We've seen some amazing Wind Wyvern situational picks here at TI.
Now, do you think DC would consider just going right for one of the luxurious cores that you can pair with the Shadow Demon right now, or is that a bit too soon to begin to show your hand?
I think the problem with that is that Elder Titan's on the side of Evil Geniuses, like Terrorblade, Morphling, really good with Shadow Demon, however very terrible with Elder Titan. We saw a lot of Terrorblade and Morphling throughout the group stage because Elder Titan was often banned out. But now that he's in, I don't know, those look a lot less attractive. I think Luna is probably a little bit better, especially versus Titan.
Whoa, right to Fuzzy Wuzzy here, the third pick for DC.
I actually think that's most likely going to be a Wii hero, just because Resolution, it just doesn't pair with the Shadow Demon whatsoever.
Weehaw plays Ursa almost every single time that I've seen them pick it. I believe it's been Wii, and they also just We is
10 seconds
when you play
remaining.
Ursa on mid, the thing is he's very hard to shut down, in fact. And they can still put it solo against
5
Tidehunter if they
seconds
want to, but most likely it's going to be a mid hero for them.
We'll have to see if
Reserve
EG can
time.
read that situation and be prepared for it appropriately. Like you mentioned, either put the Tidehunter there in an audible call, or, I don't know, maybe you get something like a Timber, Sand King that we've been seeing do favor a lot of these melee one-on-one matchups.
The Ursa's going to have trouble having uptime, though. They don't have, like, the best team by just Beastmaster, single target roar. Not great for Tidehunter. Like, Elder Titan, I think, is going to be a huge problem this game in terms of limiting Digital Chaos's team fight.
Yeah, I don't know if EG really could afford going for a Sand King as well here. It feels a little bit like they commit too much to the heroes that get close and personal. You could risk getting kited a lot. They can still just swap it over and have a different elusive hero such as Puck, who goes well with the Ursa. So I'm not sure about the Sand King coming in.
I think Sand King as well, going for the 3 melee, none of them tower pushers, none of them really able to siege. It's almost too much of an overcommitment in team fight. The downside of having 2 major team fight heroes like that is, if neither of them are BKB breakers, they just overlap in what they want to do. It's not like hitting the Ravage into the epicenter or something that you can always expect.
I think EG might be considering going for like a Venge Terrorblade kind of thing here, actually, by the looks of things. When you have Tide Ulti and Elder Titan, 2 really strong things for securing the team fights. If you have a Terrorblade early on as well, you can push so hard, and at minute 10, 11 mark, Terrorblade clear Ancients really fast, and he matches up fairly well against Ursa, I feel.
I think they could just use more team fight, because as usual versus the Ursa, you're concerned about the Roshan. They already have the Elder Titan to scout them out, but like right now, Digital Chaos, they can't really go into the pit versus the Elder Titan and the Tidehunter, and I think you want to keep going in that direction. Force Ursa to not get that first Roshan, and then just slowly peak off until your cores get enough farm.
EG do go right for the PPD grab and picking up the Dazzle. This is normally where I say, well, watch out for Huskar, but with DC picking up the Ursa, that's not very likely, it seems.
It's just a comfort hero for PPD, and I also think they demonstrated in the last game how important Weave can be. I think that was one of the games that I've seen ever where Weave has the biggest impact. It was insane.
Yeah. I think they could actually just go for Dusa again. With Dusa, Tidehunter, Elder Titan, like their team fight is extraordinarily good. They have no way to stop the Dusa from dealing damage, no good diffusal carriers. Ursa's like mediocre because he doesn't build Manta.
Yeah, it's probably to a point that Digital Chaos, if the mid hero is not picked before the last pick, they should probably ban out Dusa over Huskar, even against the Dazzle.
Agreed.
After we saw the first 2 openers, I think Dusa makes the most sense for EG, but Digital Chaos, I think they've kind of thought about that. They have not the best heroes against it, but at the same time, you still have 2 hero picks remaining. You can pick something as a support that can deal with her, at least in the early game. Just because I feel like you can pressure her pretty heavily in lane. That's the one thing about Dusa. You just want to gank her once or twice, slow down her farm progression, then get active around the map, because she's not going to rotate early on to help the other lanes.
Wonder if DC could, get something for themselves with that maybe extra support spot that would be good against the Medusa in preparation. Coddle Mana League is not too bad, I heard. Nyx Assassin,
Big fan of Coddle?
Maybe.
We kind of need a misery hero though, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
10
He's been going to the
seconds
Kunkka a
remaining.
lot.
Admiral Tonka.
Oh, snap.
And he goes again, Will. Wonderful
EG's
goal.
turn to pick.
They're going to pair the Kunkka Shadow Demon once again.
It's hard in the 5v5 scenario, though, when you're against Dazzle, because when you play the Shadow Demon Kunkka, you're kind of trying to eliminate one guy really quick. Same for a Beastmaster, and actually Ursa does the same thing. They need to go on several different targets now.
good call on the
DC's turn
Terrorblade
to
earlier.
bat.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
I think, imagine if they went like Ogre or Bounty Hunter or Riki instead of Kunkka, though, they would just like get crushed in team fight. They'd have good roam and okay lanes, but overall, though, the team fights would just really go EG's way. Terrorblade, as you mentioned.
10
Yeah,
seconds
it's just a very
remaining.
natural pairing with the Tide Ulti. Like, you push so early, and Terrorblade hits that peak. When he gets the Dragonlance treads early on in the laning phase,
turn
there's not
to
much
bat.
that can fight against him during the Metamorphosis. You kind of just have to forfeit the towers.
Yeah. Also, if you look at DC's lineup, they have very few ways to deal with them when it comes to the later parts of the game. He can kite around the Ursa. He's going to go for something like the Scotty. There's a lot of single
10
target focus on him.
seconds
There's a
remaining.
Dazzle, like you said, on the other side.
Exactly. And Terrorblade is one of those illusion heroes that
5
does stack up
seconds
his illusions close to each other and then fight. And the only AoE they have is really, well, Kunkka. He
Reserve
brings most of
time.
it, the ship, if he lands it. Whereas some other illusion heroes like Naga, you don't care about having AoE damage because they're going to split push anyway.
I think DC also have an armor problem, similar to last game. They have ET and Dazzle again on the side of EG, and there's no Warcry, no anything. I think last game they had to buy so many armor items that they couldn't do any damage in the fights. This game is something I would like to see some armor hero. Maybe Sven, I suppose.
Sven's pretty okay, but at the same time, I think he's going to just get cleaned up, and he's going to be taken out altogether, and EG go right for the Brewmaster here.
That's so good against Ursa. I like it. It's very brave to go for a Brewmaster here, but just the Cyclone on the Ursa, chain cycloning him in the team fights, then the Drunken Haze impact as well. You can mess so much with DC's lineup.
10 seconds remaining.
It's kind of heavy committal though, but you do have the Terrorblade to fall back on.
I mean, there's no way they can burst him down before his ulti in any fight. Like, even without the Grave, I think it's really difficult.
Reserve
I feel DC are going to struggle since they don't really have any silence or anything like that. I would love to see a push for them, honestly, but they're going to go for Resolution Slark.
Trusty Slark. I mean, you got one draft left, potentially, in your tournament life. And I guess they go for a comfort pick here, gentlemen. Now that we do see the spread before us, what do you think is going to happen here for game number 3? I think EG have probably the more well-rounded lineup. I just think that the team fight is going to be a little bit too hard. You have a Terrorblade who I think is going to scale very well in a game like this. I'm going to go with EG for game number 3.
I also go with EG. I think they have heavy physical damage, not really countered by anything on Digital Chaos, and I think DC are going to really struggle to get Roshan.
I think DC are doing pretty much the same as they've done in previous series. They have their own unique style, but it looks like EG has figured it out. They have adapted a lot in the series, and DC have not. I think EG got this.
Sounds good. Let's do it, folks. It's the last game. Game number 3. Evil Geniuses versus Digital Chaos. Let's send it over to our courtside casters now. It's LD and Mine.
But Wings are waiting. Comfortable in the grand finals. EG, they've been here before. They got knocked out of the lower bracket last year. They bounced back in a tough 3-game series, and they made it to the grand finals. The analysts have little faith in the DC draft. You and I were talking, is this a Meepo game? Could this be a Tinker game, potentially, with the heavy 5-man push from EG? DC go more to the comfort pick here in the Slark. Who do you got for this one?
You know, I kind of agree with the panel with EG and the picks they have, but I feel like there is still ways for DC to win Resolution. He can still get farmed up, even as farmed as he was last game. He did struggle, but he can still absolutely take over this game. He has plenty of damage later on down the road. And some early roams from these DC supports as well could actually have a huge impact, but it is game 3, and this is it's all or nothing right now for both of these teams with this draft. By far the most interesting pick is Sumail on that Brewmaster and how much he can get done.
This is like a taste of TI4 where we would see the super heavy 5-man lineups, the old EG style where they'd get like the Enigma Tidehunter, the Void Enigma, the Brewmaster, the big 5-man Deathball type strategy. It's a different engine for the push though, the Terrorblade. Something that wasn't seen nearly as much back then, but it's equally fearsome in the 5-man in its own right.
Even now, I think the Terrorblade is still falling off in comparison to where he was at Manila and before Manila, or before TI as well, even in the group stages. I feel like Terrorblade has not seen the light of day for a period of time.
It's a decent Terrorblade game though. Like the thing I liked about a potential Tinker pick is it gives them a really good way to do with the Illusion Swarm and just the general early 5-man, but you don't have the best Illusion clear. Like for DC to do well, sure Kunkka can potentially if he gets super farm, but realistically it's a 4-position Kunkka. You can't expect him to deal with the illusions on his own. They have very little wave clear aside from that. Shadow Poison takes a while to stack up, isn't going to deal with the main TB. He's protected by a Dazzle. There's no counter for Grave this game, so I think it's like you said, that DC really do need to get something out of the Shadow Demon Kunkka. If not in the first couple minutes, then definitely with that first smoke rotation, those early movements. And RC Saksa is starting with one here. The battle of the bruisers rages in mid. Sumail skills the clap early. Generally, it's the first ability you pick up, but it means there's no evasion chance here, so Viha can go in.
They got him outside, all ready to pounce. Reaching him up. This is going to be first blood side slow. Not dead yet, and he will go down.
That's huge.
Right foot from Saksa. That gets it done.
Sumail grabbing the point now, Drunken Brawler. So this is where he can equalize things. With the Ursa, you have the attack speed slow of the Thunderclap, you have evasion from Drunken Brawler, almost certainly expect to see at least 1 point Drunken Haze, and at that point, that early damage, the pressure that Weehaw was putting out, not going to be as easy to do. So important for DC to get kills in the other lanes. Really nice start here. Zai going for the early point in National Spirit. It's nice that there's 3 heroes to run it through, but the early point in Echo Stomp is the more defensive build, and it has allowed a lot of teams to get out of situations like that.
So this bottom lane, again, they're kind of leashed here because there's an aggressive dual lane Sumail. Right clicks a bit more. Earth Shock, it does hit, I think, a little bit. They have the...
He's going for this. Is there going to be a evasion? No, sir. Weehaw gets it done.
Level 2 Fury Swipe, that's all that it takes, and you said no misses. You're good.
I mean, it's a 10% dodge. You cannot rely on the dodge at this stage. It's when you combine it with the Drunken Haze, but Sumail not level 3 yet. That's where the miss chance becomes very high. 45% chance to miss on top of the 10% evasion. He is going to skill the level 2 clap. So still, Weehaw can find openings here, especially if he gets a good rune.
Bounty's
But the good rune goes to Zai, as he does grab it in this.
Yeah, Zai will be down bottom, ferreting up and looking for maybe more trouble. You can see that how far Zoxa is shadow poisoning zoning out Universe, but it might be able to make it go on Zoxa. He's a little too far up. The stop, there it is. They caught him. They took him down in time. I don't think so. 2 stacks of shadow.
This could go poorly for them. Torrent coming down. Then the pounce forward onto Universe. Resolution engages. Dropping the Mogus off the anchor pad. He's going to lock him in place now. The follow-up damage isn't enough. The one great 2-hero stop. And Misery needs this torrent to connect. Universe is going to juke it. There's no pounce to go through. And Misery trapped in the trees. No regen. Death to the club of the Elder Titan. And they're doing it 2v3. They don't have a point in Soul Catcher, and it's only a level 2 Shadow Demon, so they hit the first damage. I think you really want to be going on the Elder Titan there rather than the Tidehunter, who already has 2 points in Kraken Shell, but until they get more levels on these supports, kills on the Tide are going to be hard to come by.
Just too tanky at this point, like you said, with the Kraken Shell, and even base HP as well. But
they got him so low because the Anchor Smash hadn't gotten off, but once it got off, it was very difficult to continue damaging him.
I like the rotation, though, to mid, as they're setting up for maybe a Torrent kill here onto Sumail, and another kill would be huge. They stopped him from farming before when he was playing that Dusa, bringing him down a second time, especially when the first time was a solo kill.
But look at how well Zai is reading the map, already pinning out the likelihood that Misery has left the lane. They have a good Observer Ward in the enemy jungle. They don't actually see the Elder Titan, but they also don't see him pulling or in the area, so they get suspicious about his positioning. Instead, Misery will move all the way top here. Moo is not level 6. Difficult to set up a kill. Possible to run down the Terrorblade. It's the Dazzle lane. There's still a skill point about to be available. He can grab the level 1 Grave if he'd like.
He already torn the group wave, so it looks like they're not going for a kill.
Meanwhile, bottom Resolution, he's been left alone, and if you leave a Slug alone against Tidehunter, he is going to get bullied by Anchor Smash. He can get his level 6, and then at least can always heal up under the cover of Shadow Dance, but you can already see Rezo has to back away. If they're not getting kills out for him, this is not an effective move at all for DC. Like if that was Versa bottom or something, he would be fine, but given this matchup, he's really going to struggle. And the lane stabilized for EG, a free farming Terrorblade after the early pressure and success mid. Weehaw now even, or close to even on CS with Sumail here. But can he find the kill?
Drunken Haze did come out, so that's the evasion that you were talking about. So Weehaw will have a tougher time getting right clicks, but he's going again with the Earth Shock, and he's got the Fury Swipes on. See if he can actually bring him low. I don't think he'll be able to another Earth Shock over the tower, and it gets it! Shadow Wave the stop will come through, though.
Another Shadow Wave will put him in a lot of trouble. He heads to the north, PPD. He gets juked. Ursa has high speed movement. He's got Hermes, baby.
He wants to die as well. Now the Shadow Wave's coming out. He's about to fall. The Grace comes out just in time.
He's playing this fight so well behind on the high ground. He might be able to make a move on PPD. The Grace coming in. Torrent to Steven potentially doesn't actually cast it. He gets
Radiant's
away.
top tower
Weehaw is just playing out of his mind this game.
That was an incredible series of events. If he had gotten that second kill as well, oh my god, that would have been something. Zai barely limping away, going back to the base.
He just played it perfectly there, using the Enrage right as EG was trying to finish the job, forcing them back by getting enough damage on the Elder Titan. If he just tries to run, he probably dies, but instead, the Elder Titan has to back, then it's only the Dazzle trying to focus him down. Good adjustment by Mystery to come and assist him as he has managed to collect level 4. I think the slight worry here for DC is that Slark is getting pretty heavily out-farmed, and he's not a great hero against 5-man anyway, so you really don't want to be behind. But Sumail barely getting up the split. They force it out. Nicely done by DC. As long as they can disengage, but Misery being hounded here. There's another Boulder toss likely to drop.
He will go down. It looks like the last right click coming in. They lose the Kunkka support. They force it out
save his parity. But the thing to note here isn't that he lives, but rather that he's being pressured out of the lane so heavily. Not a free farm Slark game.
5 stacks of Shadow Poison Green. Outside Hunter was very tanky, down pretty low, but Universe is still being aggressive. Resolution still doesn't have 6, so he doesn't have that Shadow Dance pass, so he can't stay in lane. When you have that, you can maybe at least get a little bit more farm and be a bit more aggressive, but that's just not the case at this point. And again, you talked about it, the Terrorblade continues to free farm. A very good timing. And whatever item he goes for here, at this point, he's got Spreads and Aquila, and he's TPing down bottom as well. His Metamorphosis is up, ready to go, and he's got enough mana to use it.
They're just gonna death ball like behind the Terrorblade. I don't think EG cares all that much about getting kills with the bonus that they do. They might find one on Misery. Doesn't have the boat yet, only a level 2 Shadow Poison. DC's tools for D-pushing are very minimal, and EG recognize that. With Ravage online, DC cannot defend their towers right now. They will have to trade. The Beastmaster can't find pickup when the enemy team is 5-manning. They do catch Misery here. This doesn't look great for the Kaka. Angers Man, Poison Touch, and he's dead. EG are gaining steam on. They have a weakness that they can exploit here. It needs to be Weehaw stepping up in for the kill on it. There is no Bruce Wayne.
They just need one more, and they will find it. The big problem for EG right now is that Brewmaster, even so, he's still doing okay net worth and at least ahead of Resolution. He's looking for anything. The tower would be super helpful. He needs something to go their way. A tier 1 trade is actually not that bad if you consider how this game's been going this far.
He's still getting enough out of the lanes to not lose hope just yet. They are split pushing. Like if I wasn't all these kills, I would say they're in trouble with the start. Had they died